Welcome to Friday Night Firelight, presented by Mortal Up. I'm Brian Brawdy, your host, broadcasting with Telestream's Wirecast, and sponsored by Nutrient Survival at nutrientsurvival.com, and of course, Firebugs at Firebugs, that's BUGGZ.com. Well, it's probably pretty obvious that we're not in front of the Firebugs fire pit, and I want to tell you, any other part of the world, it would be called a monsoon. The wind, the half-inch of rain every 6 hours, it is just pouring. So I needed to find a venue where we could do this, and candidly, I was thinking, oh, let's just make it again. A Friday Night Firelight will be tomorrow on a Saturday night, but there's so many pressing things going on in the news today, going on in the world around us, I didn't want to wait even another day. So let me start off by thanking our sponsors, Firebugs. I can't say enough about how much fun my family and I enjoy around a Firebugs fire pit, and making, as we've said before, the hot dogs, the s'mores, everything that comes with all the different things that Firebugs manufactures. We just have an absolute blast, so I want to thank them. And I've said before, never stress. Nutrient survival, right? When your back's up against the wall, it's nice to know that as you plan for the future, as you plan for today's meals for that matter, you don't have to stress about it, because nutrient survival is there with nutrient-dense food that you and your family can count on. And let's talk about never stress. In the world today, just last evening, a former president was indicted, right? Charged, first time ever, what, a couple hundred years or more, first time ever charged with a crime. When you look at all the craziness, the train derailments, all the things from Mother Nature, the tornadoes and the like, all the man-made craziness going on in the world today, the banking structures, everything going on around us, it's important that we remember that stress affects us when we allow it to affect us. And I want to talk quickly this morning, when we talk about unleash your utmost, how does one do that specifically? How does one make it so that regardless of the outside forces, right, the slings and arrows, to quote Billy Shakespeare, the slings and arrows, so how as to not suffer those things? And not to go all scientific, but let's talk about the difference between centrifugal forces and centripetal forces. And as you know, centrifugal forces is what causes the center to be pushed away, far away. Centrifugal, so that when everything is spinning around us, our focus is drawn to the outside. And then philosophically centripetal, when we spin and all of those forces are drawn in, we're able to protect ourselves by staying centered to our core. I like to think of it as everything going on in the airwaves, right? Whether it's social media, whether it's broadcast media, whatever it is, whether it's just people that you know running at the Yap, whatever are the outside things on the airwaves coming in. And I like to counterbalance that with what I call, instead of the airwaves, the spine waves. What is it that your spine can do? The vibration that your spine naturally possesses that allows you to go, I'm a port in the storm. I know what I can do to protect myself and my family. And that's what I want to talk about today, how to unleash your utmost. I did a podcast interview this week where we talked about our alter ego. We talked about that portion of ourselves, not the ego that's concerned with everything going on in the airwaves, that's concerned with all the different things swirling around us. And then there's that part of you that just couldn't care less about everything swirling around you. So how do you do it? How can we listen to that inner voice that says, never stress? How can we listen to that inner voice that I would offer to you, very humbly, I would offer to you is the reason that humanity has progressed to the degree that it has, because it listened to its spine. It listened to its instinct. It listened to its gut. And that's what afforded it the luxury of making it as far as it has. So how do you and I do that? And as hard as it is for friends of mine who have been watching me all these years, as hard as it is for a lot to believe, it comes to simply sitting down and shutting up. Sitting down, or standing if you like, in front of the mirror, staring into the mirror long enough for it to stare back at you. No opinion. We're not busy talking about running at the yap, right? We're not busy running at the yap. We simply sit and wait for that still small voice to bubble up. That's the voice of the alter ego. And I don't want to go all Jungian on you, right? But there is a part of you outside of the shadow, outside of the persona, outside of the ego, outside all of that, the real you, the authentic you. You know, you say all the time, oh, wouldn't you like the authentic you? Well, the authentic you is really focused on underthinking, not overthinking, not the intellect. The intellect has nothing to do with the you beneath the surface. We hear of the tip of the iceberg. Oh, you only see a small tip. The majority of the iceberg is below the surface of the water, and that's most certainly true when it comes to you and your natural resources. So technically, when we talk about mortal up, it's inverting those very things, right? It's inverting those forces that allow you to go, wow, great, this is how I'm going to be me. This is how I'm going to rally those natural resources, those forces within me, by recognizing that it's not the ego. It's not the things. The ego focuses on the airwaves. The spine waves are where your alter ego goes. It's time for me to steal the show back and to make it something that I'm able to focus on to such a degree that I can survive no matter what. So how do we do that specifically? Once again, we do it by giving an open mic to that inner voice. You've had these feelings before. We have them both all the time, you and I. Intuition, gut instinct, you hear about it. But we can't do it if the ego is busy clamoring, working our minds like a speed bag. Na 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 na. How do you unleash your utmost? Calm the speed bag. Let the ego take a break and go, what is in it for you to be authentic? And as I said last week, I don't think fear is something, I don't think it's a natural force. I think you and I buy into the fear, but it's an activity on our part. We buy, right? We purchase that fear. But what if you and I decided not to purchase that fear? What if you and I were to say, okay, how do we do it? How specifically do we do it? And I'd like to offer what I call, we've talked about it before, I think it's important now with all the craziness in the world. Because look, when it comes to the stress, worried about political elections, worried about former presidents being arrested, worried about natural disasters, worried about man-made disasters, worried about all the different things that could befall us. What can we do right now to not buy into the hysteria? What can we do to not purchase the very things floating on the airwaves that'll drive us crazy if we throw ourselves into the chaos? How can we be the port in the storm? I like to call it the best acronym. Now, as you know, B stands for breathe in. E stands for exhale. S stands for scanning your immediate vicinity. And then T is take action. So let's look at those individually for just a moment. We want to breathe in through our nose because the human body isn't built to breathe in through its mouth. That's just that's an added benefit, I suspect. But when you breathe in through your nose, it sends all kinds of messages to your brain that it's really not all that stressful. Think about it. You know, when you hear people say, oh, I was so scared, it took my breath away. I was petrified. Right? Not moving. There was nothing I could do. I was scared stiff. There's the word, scared stiff. When we breathe in through the nose, it communicates to the brain, hey, wait a minute. You know what? It's not all that bad. If he or she is taking the time to inhale, right, putting their nostrils through the paces, how tough can it really be? And then the E of the best acronym is exhale. When you and I take the time to take a breath in and then exhale, Now, I don't mind exhaling through the mouth because to me, there's a rhythm to it. When you breathe in through the nose and you exhale, again, the message is sent to your brain. And remember, it's all about the neurochemicals in your brain. The message is sent to your brain going, I don't know, I guess I could secrete some fight or flight chemicals, but she sure seems pretty confident. Taking the moment to breathe in and to exhale seems pretty confident to me. And that's why it's important after we complete that cycle of the breath in and the exhale, in and out, one cycle, only then do we scan our horizons. Because prior to that, we don't know if our fear is causing us to see something or not see something, right? So when it comes to that point, we're able to get a real assessment of what's going on. Then we can scan our horizon to make certain that we're seeing everything that's going on. There's nothing make-believe. Fear isn't causing us to paint a picture that just isn't really there. So that's the benefit of scanning your horizon, checking your six, looking at your immediate surroundings to make certain that you know exactly what it is that you're up against. And then the T of the BEST acronym, the T is to take action. It's at that point we're fully assessed, right? We're fully in grasp of all the different things going on around us, and then we know that the action that we take will be the best action for us, for our families, for our survival, for whatever it is in the moment. But if we run in hyperventilating, if we run in short of breath, if we run in with tunnel vision, not looking at the entire picture, of course the action we're going to take is not our best action. But you and I wouldn't be here. You know, what did I see the other day? Oh, I got an advertisement for Welcome to You. It was someone that wanted you to send in a sample, and they give you your DNA, but they're able to tell where your ancestors, where you're from. But what they're not able to tell you is prior to all of that, welcome to you is a badass. Welcome to you is unstoppable. Welcome to you is the definition of resilience, the absolute definition of being able to handle anything that fate throws at you. That's the real you. So in that moment, with all the stress going on, you and I can decide to jump into the chaos and let it play us, or we can decide with the BEST acronym to breathe, exhale, scan our immediate situation, and then and only then take action. And I'm only talking about maybe 3-4 seconds, right? Get your wits about you. As I said in the interview, why would you possibly want your chemicals to use you as opposed to you using your chemicals? And as we've gone over before in the past, your mind works for you. You don't work for your mind. So this is the time to draw the line in the sand and go, you know what? I've had just about enough. We're not going to run willy-nilly into the night, right? We're going to stand right here. Here's our line in the sand. Here's what we need to do in order to be able to successfully square our shoulders, confront whatever it is that's upon us, and take the best opportunity to survive that situation. And again, if we throw in, if we get involved, right? How to put your best foot forward? Your best foot forward may be not putting your best foot forward right now. Maybe it's sitting back. Maybe it's waiting for all this mashugana to work itself out. Yeah, the ego wants you involved. The ego wants you going, can you believe they did this? Can you believe they did that? Can you believe this has happened? Can you believe that has happened? It's not about belief. And if it is about belief, the only belief that I'd like you to focus on is the belief in yourself. That you have the ability to counter anything. That's what's most important. That's what's most germane. So let chaos be chaos. That's what chaos does. Chaos wants to call you away from your spine. Chaos wants you to be scared. Chaos wants you to be affected by all the different things going on. But we're not unless we give it permission to affect us. And I'm simply suggesting that if you want, right, if you want to prepare like a Viking, you look at those Vikings, nothing, right? As we said last week, nothing scared them, nothing. They get these little boats, they row around, huge waves, right? They were just a formidable foe no matter what. You know why? Because they didn't listen to the voice of fear. They didn't purchase into paranoia, hysteria. They were like, it is what it is. I'm going to move forward doing what I know to be the very best for myself, for my shipmates, and for my family. So that's what's in your DNA. There's determination in your DNA. There's a firewall in your DNA. And you have to let down your guard to let the hysteria of the moment in. So today, it's going to be broadcast everywhere, all over social media, all over the news. People are probably talking about it at the coffee shop. I don't go to coffee shops, but I imagine that there are people there, and if they're there drinking coffee, I imagine that they're talking. I don't go, but could be, I guess, right? Don't know. Everyone's going to be all abuzz about what's going on. And you get to sit back and go, I'm willing to wait and see how this whole thing plays out, because who knows? Don't let your ego buy into all the craziness. And that, in an emergency situation, could very well save your life. That's why I say never stress. Because you already have the natural resources. You have the buried logic. You have the authentic vigor, right? The strength to rally your grit and go, I'm not going to let it bug me today. And that's why when it comes to unleashing your utmost, when it comes to being the full you, when it comes to welcome to you, they want you convinced. Think about all of the trouble young people are having today. Most certainly the young people, when they talk about suicides, hurting themselves, depression. Look at all the drug use. Look at all the things going on with some of the younger generation. The very generation that grew up with their cell phones attached to their hip. Busy taking selfies. Was out to dinner a couple of evenings back. Everyone at the table, 6 people in the family, all on their cell phones. What kind of communal a meal could that be? So I love about firebugs and the fire pits, being able to get the whole family together. We don't allow electronics. We don't allow cell phones, Game Boys, whatever they call them, Nintendo, Switches. We don't allow those things, because we want that communal bond. Well, what do you think is happening to all these younger people that are constantly looking to value themselves against social media, to value themselves against all the static, everything else that everyone has or has not? They're equating their value based on that. And I'm telling you, your alter ego couldn't give a crap. Your alter ego doesn't matter what else is going on around you. It knows what you are capable of. And I have to tell you, a lot of the stress that I think that humans are under comes from the fact that the alter ego is tired of you being pushed around like a pincushion. The other part of it could very well be that it's tired of you letting yourself be pushed around by a pincushion. Could very well be that the alter ego is here going, this is what I was put here to do, was to be a puppet, was to be played by the opinions of others. I'm supposed to be a big target and people are supposed to launch arrows into me at will. I think some of the stress that everyone's under is the alter ego going, you know what, I've had enough. You want to buy into all this ego stuff? God love you, go. And that hollowness that we feel, that hollowness that you hear, that sense of depression that you hear stems from the fact that the alter ego is like, I'm going to sit on the sidelines, do what you want. I'm tired of all this crap. Just go, 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 go. You're not taking me with you, but just go, 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 go. I'll sit here. I'll be at the base of your spine. I'll be here. When you come to your senses and you come back and you go, hey, could I tap you? Could you jump into the game? Alter ego's ready to go. But what if it's just plain tired of your craziness, of our craziness? What if it's just plain tired of being pushed around? I think there might be something to that. And I know earlier I said I wasn't going to go all Carl Jung, and you don't have to read the red book, you don't have to read the black books, you don't have to study inside and out of all of his collected works of Adler, just all of it. What you need to know is that there's a part of you that if you don't give it a say in your life, that's the authentic part. You don't give it a say in your life, it'll turn its back on you. And that's the function of sadness and depression. That's the function, I believe, of suicide increases. That's the function of all the craziness where people go, my life just isn't worth it, because it's not your life. You're busy living what the ego says is your life. And that's not your life. Your life isn't what you drive, what you wear, where you eat, where your kids go to school. None of that is your life. Think back to our ancestors around a fire pit in the very beginning. They weren't drawn into any of that craziness. Your life is what your alter ego is trying to get you to pay attention to. And it begins, in my estimation, it begins, my 40 years of near 4 decades of investigating this, it begins when you stop turning a blind eye and a deaf ear to your alter ego. It begins when you stop turning your back on really the only energy that's rooting for you. And that's the energy coursing through your spine. All right, we got to go ahead and get out of here. I'm sorry again that the weather was what it was. I hope this has been a benefit. I know it's been a benefit. I've countless times that this has in fact worked for me, and I hope it will work for you. When I say mortal up, the basis of mortal up is to remember who you ultimately are. Not living on the surface, right? Not the craziness, but who you are at your core, because that being is capable of damn near anything. And those are the forces that you can rally. You and I can't control all the craziness in the world. Oh, well, we'll vote them out. We'll vote this one out, or vote that one in, or we'll go here, or we'll do this, or we'll buy that, or we'll medicate this way or medicate that way. We can't control all the craziness in the world. What we can control is how you and I respond to it. And I'm simply suggesting, let's not surrender the remote control to the forces that don't have your best interest at heart. Your alter ego has your best interest at heart. When you start to listen to the voices in your own head, you'll be able to figure that out. All right, thank you so much for joining us. I super appreciate it. Again, let me thank Nutrient Survival and Firebugs. Most certainly, Wirecast, we wouldn't be coming to you if it weren't for Telestream's Wirecast. So thank you to my sponsors. Thank you all for watching, and I'll look forward to being with you next week, hopefully. The rain has to let up. My goodness, I'll be building an ark if it doesn't. All right, have an absolutely fantastic weekend and a great week until I see you next. And remember, mortal up. It's in your best interest, and it's absolutely within your wheelhouse to do so. Until next week, mortal up, and I'll see you then.